If you grew up loving Lilo and Stitch, the new live-action version might surprise you in the best way. Let's take a look at where the magic started. Hawaii. When Disney decided to make a live-action version of Lilo and Stitch, one thing was immediately clear. They had to film it in Hawaii. After all, the original 2002 animated classic wasn't just set on the islands. It was deeply immersed in Hawaiian culture, language, and landscapes. Moving the production anywhere else would have stripped away much of what made the story special. So, when filming kicked off, the production team honored that commitment. The lush green mountains, sandy beaches, and tropical sunsets we see in the movie are more than just beautiful. They're vital to the feeling of Lilo and Stitch, a film that's always been about the meaning of ohana, the Hawaiian word for family. It was important that this live-action adaptation didn't just borrow Hawaii's visuals but embraced its culture. That meant working closely with local Hawaiian talent, both behind the scenes and in front of the camera. From actors and consultants to costume designers and cultural advisors, people from the islands were involved in shaping the story in ways that feel more genuine and respectful than in many past portrayals. The crew also made a point of consulting with Hawaiian elders and cultural experts to ensure traditional practices, language, and symbols were represented authentically. They wanted it to feel Hawaiian in spirit. That kind of detail shows in everything from the music to the way characters speak and interact. Of course, the road to production wasn't exactly smooth. The film was initially set to begin filming back in 2020, but the COVID-19 pandemic put everything on hold. After that, a combination of industry strikes and scheduling reshuffles caused more delays. But Disney didn't give up on the project. Filming finally began in February 2024 and wrapped up about a month later, in March. That gave the team time to focus on what mattered most, getting the tone, setting, and culture just right. It's clear the filmmakers learned from the criticisms Disney has faced in the past around cultural representation. This time, there was a real effort to tell a story with care, humility, and input from the community it's about. The live-action Lilo and Stitch isn't just a rehash of an old favorite. It's a film that pays attention to where it comes from and who it's trying to represent. One of the biggest challenges in bringing Lilo and Stitch into the real world was figuring out how to make its lovable, chaotic characters work in live action. Especially, of course, Stitch. How do you turn a tiny blue alien with 6 limbs, crazy ears, and a destructive streak into something that feels like it belongs in the real world, but still keeps its charm? Turns out that wasn't easy. The visual effects team reportedly went through more than 200 design drafts before they landed on a version of Stitch that felt right. The final look strikes a nice balance. He's still got the big eyes, the cute little snout, and that fuzzy blue fur fans know and love. But now he looks like he could actually exist alongside humans. He's expressive, a little wild, and still completely adorable. And yes, Chris Sanders, the original voice of Stitch, is back to voice him again, which really helps bring the character to life for longtime fans. The visual effects work was led by Industrial Light and Magic, and they really had their hands full trying to strike the perfect balance between making Stitch look believable and cute. To make this happen, they leaned on some pretty advanced CGI tools like Maya, Houdini, and Nuke. The team focused intensely on the little details, like getting his fur just right so it looked soft and touchable on screen. They also put a lot of effort into his facial expressions, making sure Stitch could still communicate all the big emotions he's known for, even in this more grounded live-action format. They studied animal behavior, especially dogs, to help shape how Stitch would move and act. And with the help of motion capture, they gave him lifelike movements that still felt true to his alien nature, but believable in a human world. On set, they didn't just rely on CGI either. They used practical puppets as stand-ins for Stitch during filming. These helped with lighting and gave the actors something physical to react to, which made their performances feel more natural. That mix of digital and practical effects really helped Stitch fit into the scenes more seamlessly. Casting the human characters was just as important. Lilo is played by young newcomer Maya Kealoha, and she's already winning hearts. Maya brings the perfect mix of quirkiness and sincerity to the role, which is key because Lilo is a very special Disney kid. She's a bit of an outsider, kind of weird, and totally lovable. Sydney Agudong plays her older sister Nani, who's trying to hold everything together after their parents' deaths. The relationship between these two sisters takes center stage in the new film, and the live-action version leans even more into their emotional struggle. Nani's stress, Lilo's loneliness, and their fierce love for each other feel even more raw and real this time around. As for some of the more out-there characters like Jumba and Pleakley, the creative team had to get even more inventive. In the animated film, they show up in ridiculous disguises that barely hide the fact that they're aliens, but that kind of humor doesn't quite translate to live action. So the movie gives them full-body human suits that resemble the actors playing them, Zach Galifianakis as Jumba and Billy Magnussen as Pleakley. They still have their alien forms, especially in the scenes with the Galactic Federation, but when they're blending in on Earth, the look is a little more toned down. Some fans might miss Pleakley's infamous wig, but the spirit of the characters is still there. There are also some fun cameos sprinkled throughout. Tia Carrere, the original voice of Nani, plays a new character named Mrs. Kekoa, and Jason Scott Lee shows up as Nani's boss. Amy Hill, who voiced Mrs. Hasagawa in the cartoon, returns as a new character named Tutu. These nods to the original cast give longtime fans a warm sense of nostalgia without overshadowing the new leads. At its heart, Lilo and Stitch has always been about family, specifically the kind of messy, imperfect, hold you together when everything is falling apart family. That theme remains front and center in the live-action remake, which manages to keep the soul of the original story while adding a few new emotional layers along the way. In the animated film, Lilo is a quirky little girl who's struggling with the recent death of her parents. She doesn't fit in with other kids, and her older sister Nani is barely keeping it together as her legal guardian. Then along comes Stitch, a genetically engineered alien fugitive disguised as a dog, who crashes into their lives and somehow helps them become a real family. The new film sticks pretty closely to that plot, but because it's live action, the emotional beats hit differently. There's something about seeing real actors, especially young Maya Kealoha and Sydney Agadong, go through those struggles that makes it all feel more grounded and, honestly, more heartbreaking at times. Nani's fight to keep custody of Lilo is a bigger focus here. You really feel the pressure she's under, trying to work, parent, and prove to social services that she's doing her best. It's raw, it's real, and it makes the bond between the sisters even more powerful. The film doesn't gloss over their challenges, and that makes the resolution feel that much more earned. At the same time, the movie keeps things fun. Stitch is still causing chaos, eating everything in sight, and launching himself into wild adventures. And yes, there's plenty of Elvis music. That classic Lilo and Stitch mix of heart and humor is still here, just with a slightly more mature tone. Beyond the story, the film also weaves in some subtle commentary on Hawaii itself. The original hinted at the effects of tourism and economic pressure on local communities, and the remake nods to that again, adding another layer to the setting's importance. Whether you've been a fan forever or you're just getting into it, the new Lilo and Stitch really hits all the right notes. It's super heartwarming, looks amazing, and totally reminds you why Ohana means so much. The live-action Lilo and Stitch hits all the right notes. Stitch looks awesome and still has that chaotic little gremlin energy we love. The visuals are next level, but what really makes it work is how much heart they kept in the story. Thanks for watching Collider. See you next time.